Hello.
Oh, hey Sam, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good, good. So I guess we should go ahead and record a LAAG cast, huh? Since we're both here.
Yeah, and so welcome to the LAAG cast. What day is it?
It is actually the 19th of September. We're a little late on recording. If we keep our schedule, we'll probably end up recording another episode tomorrow. But just for our listeners, we did them the treat of not watching anything ahead of where we've been. We haven't watched the new Venture Brothers yet. At least I haven't.
Nope.
There'll be a new Always Sunny, I think, tonight. And so we're still on last week. And we haven't read all the comics from last week. So as far as everyone's concerned, it's last week. And we're just going to go with the flow.
And it didn't happen.
So, quick check-in on gaming. Mostly just been playing No Man's Sky still. The game is hella addicting.
Yeah, same here. I've not really played anything else. I mean, I played a little bit of Enter the Gungeon.
Oh, yes, Enter the Gungeon.
They continue to seem to add new things to that to keep it fresh. It seems like every time I play, there's some new stuff added, and whether it be a little bit of different stuff, guns-wise, or different stuff within the levels, like traps and different enemies, and that's pretty cool. I appreciate that.
Is it because the game in pre-release still and they're updating, or is it just they're changing the game with patches as they go?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's the sort of knowledge that Will Henry would have brought to the podcast.
This is true. But, he's the one who owns the game. I just play with him, so I actually don't know whether it's pre-release or not.
Yeah, I'd be curious. So that's fun. Yeah. Hey, speaking of No Man's Sky, you ever get that level 3 Atlas Pass?
Not yet.
Okay, well I have 2, so we should hook up next time you're in game.
Wait, did you build them?
I did get the plans,
Okay.
and I did build. I built 2 just because I figured at some point that I'd be able to hook you up.
Yeah, though I don't know if it would do me much good without that remembrance.
Oh no, all it does is let you go into the secret rooms on the space stations.
Yeah, but don't those sometimes have a remembrance required machine behind them, just like the level 2 Atlas Pass ones?
Not that I've seen yet. I need to look in more space stations, I guess.
Yeah.
So far, they've all pretty much just been clones of those level 2 Atlas Pass rooms where it's just like a bunch of plants that you're getting.
Yeah, I've gotten those level 2 Atlas Pass rooms, but I've also had Atlas Pass version 2 rooms.
They're like warehouse rooms.
Right, that were warehouses, or one where it's a terminal and it requires an Atlas Pass not an Atlas Pass, it requires a remembrance.
Wow, I have not yet found anything asking for a remembrance. I really need to start looking for more.
Yeah, you need to be going to those operations centers.
Operations centers. I don't know that I found too many of those. Yeah, okay.
That's
good
what
tip.
you're looking for.
The only other thing I played this week was just on a whim. I kind of bought and fired up Sam & Max Hit the Road. Classic.
Hit the Road. I remember playing that when I was a very little kid.
I feel like that was one of the first games we had that Dad bought purely for us because the game was called Sam & Max.
Right, and we, of course, are Sam & Max.
Yes. So that was a good time. It's the classic point and click pixelated LucasArts adventure games. The writing is still funny. I was laughing at the majority of the jokes. Very timeless. The voice acting, it all came back to me. Had good nostalgia. It was Sam and Max's voices. It's great. It was great performances, especially considering what era of computer game development they were in.
That's true. If I remember correctly, Max is like a high-pitched voice, like, something like this. And Max, Sam is a little bit more like low and hokey, like, let's go do this over here, Sam.
You got Max right, but Sam's more of I got kind of an old-school newscaster voice, Max.
Oh, right. We gotta go look at this over here.
Right. I can't pick that up. I don't think he'd want that.
Oh, God. Wow, yeah, I remember those sound bits.
So, I blasted through it in pretty much one day. I only had to go to guides twice to figure out puzzles that I couldn't remember how to figure out. And one of them was just because I hadn't seen like the one little thing in a room that you're supposed to be able to interact with, and otherwise fully pre-rendered uninteractable background.
Right.
But, blasted through it, and it's weird plot with like a country western singer who wants to use Bigfoots as his backup band while the Bigfoots themselves are attempting to do some sort of ritual because of a planetary convergence that's happening, and there's mole people, but maybe they're actually from space, and just A+. It's I got it from Good Old Games. I want to say for $3.99. It comes with a launcher, so you can play it on any modern PC, and it's highly recommend. It's a solid 3 nights of gameplay, especially if you played it before. Honestly.
Well, that sounds like it's definitely worth $3.99.
I'd say so.
I might even pick up that for myself just for the nostalgia.
And now I kind of want to pick up some of the other LucasArts games from back then, even the ones that we didn't beat. Like, remember The Dig?
I remember The Dig.
We played a lot of The Dig, and we always got to a point where we could not figure out how the hell to move forward.
Yeah, I feel like The Dig would be easier for us now, knowing what we do about the world of shapes and strange phrases.
Yeah, very much so. Like, our video game vocabulary has expanded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dig was good. There was that Indiana Jones one.
Yes, The Fate of Atlantis.
Fate of Atlantis. That one was funny.
Now, see, that one a couple of years ago I did download and try to play a little bit of. And I did it for a little while, but I didn't hang with it as much. And I think that the graphical style makes a big difference with these, because Sam & Max, even though it's just as pixelated, it's so cartoony and so much style is infused. In the Indiana Jones game, it has some cool backdrops, but for the most part, that's a very bland looking game. And it's a lot of dialogue trees. Like,
that's true. I just remember smashing the sucker punch button every time I got in a battle.
Right, because the game had the 3 paths you could do. You could do the puzzle path, the speech path, or the fighter path.
Right.
Which, when you think about it, was really revolutionary for a game at that time.
At that time, yeah, that's like Deus Ex level.
Right, that's almost an RPG.
Almost.
An RPG where you're Indiana Jones discovering the fate of Atlantis.
Yeah.
That sounds like an A+. Yeah, they had it down in the 90s, man. All right, moving on, let's talk about some of the TV from last week. Let's start with the latest episode of The Venture Brothers. I think it's episode 6.
I feel like you're right about that. It's episode 6, so we're speeding towards the end of the season.
I know, we're almost done. Isn't it sad? It's so depressing.
So sad.
It makes every episode slightly tragic, because now you've watched one more and no longer have it to look forward to within a week.
Yeah, exactly. Tragic.
And even more so than last week's episode, I thought this week's episode was like a super return to episodic storytelling. There was a little bit of the, what's the name? The Peril Partnership? Plot.
Right, the continuation of the season's plot, kind of.
Right, but the main thrust was sort of just we've seen Dr. Venture and his crew go to war against the Monarch and his crew. Wouldn't it be fun if we had each of them be sort of using other guys sort of as Pokemon to fight each other? And so they went to the B team, which would be
Billy
the Kid,
White,
Mr. White, and
their proper name is Billy Quizboy.
Billy Quizboy, yes,
Boy
of course,
Genius.
Boy Genius. And his primary rival, Augustus St. Claude.
Right. No, we didn't see too much of his albino.
No.
Ping Wai, I believe is his name.
St. Cloud is so weird.
It is weird.
So weird. But he's also a main part of one of my favorite episodes, which is Spanakopita.
Yeah, that is probably almost definitely his best episode.
Yeah.
Which is funny because he definitely shows up all the way back in season 1.
Yeah, but they have this thing where they're so willing to go and pluck something that was sort of a one-note joke or something early on and really drive into it and expand it in all sorts of ways where you're wow. It's sort of the way that they do it in comic books, where they'll take any other character and they'll be oh, I bet we can get 4 issues out of this.
Yeah, that's true.
What detail can we get into? But then the Venture Bros comes along and they show you how good you can do stories like that in such a short amount of time. They would need a 4-issue series.
You just need 3 years to write it and animate it.
Right. If you set up the universe appropriately, then the characters themselves will always, naturally be able to, you'll be able to find a direction to take that character that will be funny in lining up with the ways you've already made your universe funny.
That's true. And in that way, this episode I felt was really good because it did expand upon the universe a little more by showing us the heroes and the villains with their trainee heroes and their trainee villains, just helping them along. It just makes the universe a little bit bigger.
Yeah, and the whole intro where we saw a little bit more of the inner workings of the guild and how they're always assigning bad acronyms to everything, and they're semi-incompetent but like going in weird directions, and like the Dave Grohl thing.
The Dave Grohl thing, that was unexpected and delightful.
Yeah, because between that and the summit last week, that's quite a bit of the whole villain bureaucracy thing coming to real forefront.
Yeah, and that's really what it's all been about for most of the seasons. It's just been joking about this whole good and evil, hero versus villain, but everybody's just kind of playing a part.
Right. And even though in the past they've kind of done it by bringing in other organizations that don't play as fair as the OSI and the Guild, I wonder if they're almost showing us all this bureaucracy so that they can blow it up by the season's end if they're going to go somewhere crazy with this Peril Partnership thing. Like, what if it turns out that it's like a big cadre of villains who have decided that they want to be a real organization of supervillains that can actually do things?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it would go against the ethos of Venture Brothers, which is, why would you actually want to rule the world? It's much more fun to just play villain and be a part of this bureaucracy.
Right.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they were giving us this emphasis on the system, just so that we'll be right there with them when they destroy the system.
But if they destroy the system, then it's just regular old superheroes comics.
Yeah, except with the Venture Bros twist, and they've spent all these seasons on their version. Maybe it's time for them to
that's true.
Yeah, branch out
it a little bit away from the whole satire that it is in its essence.
Right, and if they need to do that in order to kind of flesh things out and keep things interesting for them, then I'm down.
Yeah.
Because I love Venture Brothers and I love new Venture Brothers, but there's always, like, every season that comes out, you kind of could accept it as the last season because their messaging is so on point. It's like, we want more of these jokes, we want more of these characters, but at the same time, like, everything that the show wants to say to us is so well encapsulated within each season that, it's really tough to break out of that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope that it does continue to go to great and wonderful places.
Yeah, exactly. And, great and wonderful places and different directions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely been wrapping up a lot this time, but also planting some new seeds.
All right. Moving on. Unless you had anything else for Venture Brothers.
Nah.
Do we want to rank it? Do we want to rank the shows the way we rank the comics? I don't think we have been.
I don't think we want to rank the shows.
Maybe seasons?
Maybe seasons, but I feel like with shows, hey or nay type rating is...
good enough?
Yeah, good enough.
This is a recommend for sure, as I think every episode of Venture Brothers is.
Yay.
So moving on to the other show we're watching, which is It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. We got the second episode of the new season.
Yes.
The
escape room
episode. Not my favorite episode of Always Sunny, I gotta say.
Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking maybe after a couple of watchings, it might grow on me a little.
Episodes have done that.
The episodes have definitely done that, so I don't like to make quick judgments.
Right. But we're also longtime fans.
We are longtime fans, and we can. There was a little bit that seemed off about this episode. For one thing, anybody who's ever actually done an escape room, I actually have, knows that escape rooms don't come and turn your home into an escape room.
Right, that was to me, like, and I have a couple of theories about this episode that might explain some of my problems with it, and one of those theories is that I feel like this was a bottle show. Dennis was in this episode a lot, and since we didn't even know for sure if Glenn Howerton was going to be back until pretty much like a month or so before the season came out, and we don't know how much they had to do without him, this feels like an episode that they did very quickly once he came back and wanted to get another full Dennis episode before maybe we get a drought of a few episodes where Dennis shows up very little or not at all. And for that reason, I feel like it felt very first drafty. Like, it didn't have enough jokes per minute to me.
I could definitely see that being true. And yeah, it did feel like it was kind of trying to rely on episode-long jokes.
Right. Which were of varying levels of competency, in my opinion. Like, once they got down to the summit at the end, I thought that was pretty good, but it also was kind of something we've seen before with them.
That's back to business.
Right. And, you know, the chewing gum thing, like, that's a good bit. And
the head cow's gotta graze.
Yeah.
The head cow's always grazing.
The head cow's always grazing. Yeah. And so that was funny. But I feel
that
like
was funny.
a lot of the men versus women humor that they tried to work into the show, I thought was kind of hackneyed, which is surprising to me because normally this show is one of the best at casting light on the whole stupid gender war.
That's true.
And I feel like they needed to, a lot of the jokes needed like an additional twist in order to get them fully into the, like, we're really saying something funny about the situation versus the, we're saying something about the situation, so it's funny.
Right, yeah. It did seem like a lot of that wasn't landing.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because, yeah, they can definitely do that, and they have in the past.
Yeah. The twist with Dennis's room, though, that got me. I laughed out loud.
Yeah, that was perfect. That's the thing. It's like escape rooms aren't done in your house, but the episode wouldn't have worked at all. You wouldn't have been able to use many of the funniest jokes if it wasn't
at their house. Right. So that's all I can remember about that episode, honestly.
I mean, Mac's bike made a reappearance for a joke.
They're going to be showing us that bike a lot.
Yeah. And, yeah, you basically knew within the first couple of minutes of them doing that room that they were not going to figure out the first clue until the end of the episode.
Not realizing.
Exactly how it went down.
Yeah, a little predictable. Did you happen to see Max? What's his real name?
Rob McCallaghan.
Rob McCallaghan. I knew Mac was in there somewhere. Did you happen to see his social media post about when people were asking him about how he got all cut for Mac this season?
I don't think so.
He wrote this like long list, and he was like, "Eat nothing you like wake up at ungodly hours of the day." Like, he lists all these things, and at the end he writes, "And have the studio bankroll the whole thing." That's the easy way anyone can do it.
Yep. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
But man, his ability to change his body.
Yeah. Well,
he's one of those.
I also wonder if after he destroyed his body a couple of seasons ago, if he didn't feel like he had something to prove.
Right.
You know, it's a lot easier to fatten yourself up.
Well, that's definitely true. He just did it really fast and then got not too fat. He lost a bunch of weight real fast. It was pretty impressive.
I mean, I feel like he could almost compete with Christian Bale at this point. Christian Bale went to a farther extreme with the weight loss, of course, famously for that one role.
I watched that movie. That is a difficult movie, The Machinist.
Never watch that movie again. That's a one watcher.
That is a one watcher.
But yeah, I feel like when you think about people really changing their bodies in entertainment landscape, I can't think of another big example like that for somebody who's rocketed from such a big weight to such a skinny weight.
Yeah, and Christian Bale's the guy. I mean, he almost killed himself for that role, so yeah, he's the guy.
Yes, he is a crazy person.
But Rob McCallaghan, he does it pretty good too. It's impressive.
Man, good job on that name, man.
Yeah, no, I know all that.
All right, well, so this
That's
episode...
TV.
This episode, Always Sunny, I gotta be honest, if you're not like a diehard fan of this show, I'd call this a pass. Like a diehard, you're gonna watch it.
Well, any fan is gonna watch it, but it shouldn't be anybody's first episode. Not that any episode this far into the show should be anybody's first episode.
Yeah, remember when Dad watched an episode and it was the Thanksgiving Bury the Hatchet, Settle Our Beefs episode, which is like the most continuity heavy episode.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every character shows up with baggage.
Oh man. Yeah. No, I'd say this is a pass.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, anything else TV wise?
I don't think so. No, let's move on to the character rankings.
All right, want to do that before we take a break?
Yeah, let's do that. We'll take a break. We'll come back with all the other stuff.
All right, sounds good. So today we have decided to, because at this point we're basically filling in the blanks, we came up with 3 Bajorans that we decided are important enough to rank.
Yeah.
Your mileage may vary.
Not many Bajorans are important enough to rank, that's for sure.
Not many, and the ones that are, as we will see, well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
So I decided to go with worst is first, to go Always Sunny on it. And let's start with Vedic Bryl.
Ooh, Vedic Bryl.
Ooh, Vedic Bryl. What a cardboard cutout.
I don't know. Sometimes he shows some uniqueness to him, but it's usually in this, like, oh my god, this is like a skinny nerd. you thought this was like some centered priest guy. Nah, he's like...
He's a dweeb.
He's a dweeb.
Yeah. No, he always talks in the same tone of voice. He's one of those guys who decided that sounding wise must mean talking slowly. And so he always is kind of talking like this to Kira or anybody. Kai Wynn doesn't understand. Da 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 da. And they very wisely wrote him right out of the show, because even the writers realized that this wasn't a character they could really do much with.
That's true. I'd say when it comes to Vedic Bryl, there's one episode where he's kind of funny. The one with Waxana Troy, and she's having the headaches that's causing everybody to have emotional attraction towards everybody. He gets kind of funny in that episode when he like punches Cisco because he wants Dax.
Right.
Like, I'll fight for her if I have to. But like that's the most emotion you get out of him in the entire show.
Yeah, and characters being possessed or mentally manipulated doesn't count in the rankings.
That is a good point.
Yeah, I mean the way that they decide to take him out, like they give him a good like heroic sacrifice ending kind of.
They make him into a robot, which is hilarious.
It is really funny. Like it would be the worst thing they do to a character on DS9 if not for Kern.
Oh, yeah. Poor guy. If he just waited a little longer.
I know, just a little longer. Could have joined the House of Martok. It would have been so dope. So, I'm scrolling down the list personally for Vedic Bryl.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, man, the list is still pretty good characters until we get down towards, like, the last 10 of the 72 we've ranked so far. I can't even really put Bryl above Mayweather, but I hate Kess. Mayweather is the pilot on Enterprise.
Where is he on the...
70 out of 72 is currently Lieutenant Travis Mayweather.
Okay, yeah, he's definitely below Chakotay.
Yeah.
I'd like Mayweather more.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that he's below Mayweather but above Kess because...
I can agree with that because I'd like to have seen more of Mayweather, but any amount of Kess is too much.
Bryl, number 71 out of 73. Moving on to Vedic Bryl's replacement. First Minister Shakaar, former head of the Shakaar Resistance.
I don't find him much more interesting than Bryl.
I only like him. I do like him in the episode where he's introduced, when they have the whole thing with the Bajorans like fighting off the government thing. But I also think that he's boosted by the other more interesting Bajoran members, like militia members, like that chick and that guy that with one arm who are Kira's old friends.
Right, they are more interesting characters than him. And it makes you think that maybe he would have been a better character if he were in a more still a soldier role.
Given more stuff to do.
Right, and fighting, not just all the talking and being uncomfortable about being a politician.
Right, because he barely ever shows up after that. Like, I feel like the only extended appearance by him is when Kira is having the O'Brien's baby.
You might be right about that.
And he isn't as funny in that as Bryl is in the Mind Control episode.
Agreed. Him fighting with O'Brien is good, but that's mostly because O'Brien is so funny.
Right, exactly. And yeah, Cole Meany is definitely carrying both of them in that performance. All right, so heading back to the list, we can't scroll up too much because I definitely like T'Pol more. I think I like Chakotay more.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Mayweather. I guess I like Mayweather more. He's a more interesting character.
Okay, yeah, but do you like Vedic Bryl more than you like First Minister Shakaar? Butchered his name. Or less?
I think I like Shakaar more.
See, I feel like I like Bryl more.
Interesting. So this is the first time we've had a disagreement as a two-person show.
Yeah.
So you don't have a coin on you. Oh, look, I found a coin.
Oh, well, nice. Let's flip that.
Quarter.
Nice.
Okay, so you go ahead and you're representing Shakaar. Call in the air.
I should be representing.
Oh, Bryl. I'm sorry. You're representing Bryl.
Okay. Tails.
Heads.
Tails never fails. Tails failed. Sunny reference.
All right. So that's First Minister. With 2 A's.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, indeed.
So, last and not least in this list of Bajorans, it's the one you've all been waiting for, the one who is almost a main character on Deep Space Nine. That's Ensign Ros.
The first Bajoran.
The first Bajoran. The first member of the Bajora that we ever saw.
The Bajora.
So, Ro, she's a pretty decent character in all the next gens she's in. I really like that episode where her and Geordi are out of phase.
That one's really good. The episode where they all lose their memories, she's prominent in that and does a very good job. And she's also a big part, if not a great part, of the episode where they're turned into children.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I guess that does count, because that's still Ro, the character, without any mental manipulation.
Right. I definitely considered Kid Guinan when we were ranking Guinan. As well as Kid Picard, but Kid Picard does a pretty excellent job.
Yeah, and that's a smaller slice of the overall character.
Yeah, out of all of them, unfortunately, Ro Laren's child actor, I feel like, was the weakest performance.
Yeah, that's going to happen with child actors.
Yep.
But, Ro, and then she kind of sets up so much about what the Bajorans become. And when it comes down to it, like, Kira's personality, like, you totally see that they're basically the same character. Like,
very much so.
Two different circumstances, but obviously the same attitudes about pretty much everything.
That's true.
So, there definitely is is there a Deep Space Nine if Ensign Ros isn't a popular character?
I don't think so. I mean, it was really...
it's not the same thing, at least.
No, but, I mean, a spin-off, and it's grabbing from Next Gen, and they grab Bajorans and Cardassians and Ferengi.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Man, they really cherry-picked some solid stuff out of Next Gen, which, when we watch it in the context of Next Gen, really just seems like, here's these guys, they're more of this. And, like, now when we go back and rewatch stuff now, and we see the stuff with Ro, or the stuff with the... Mark Alimo playing the other Cardassian before he played Dukat and all that stuff.
Mustached one.
Yeah, now we're like, oh yeah, like so good. But at the time, it's just like, Cardassians. It's the alien of the week, They're warring with these Bajorans, the other alien of the week.
Yeah, true.
So and considering that and how crappy the Ferengi are in general on Next Gen in comparison to what they became, they really smartly cherry picked.
That's true, though I feel like the Ferengi got their evolution within Next Gen in a lot of ways. Like, when they first showed up, they were snickering laser whip dudes who didn't really have much to say. And by the time Deep Space Nine started, they were already pretty established as a good villain in Next Gen, looking for profit.
Right. The profit thing, I think, though, is a little bit less prominent in Next Gen than you're remembering, because almost every time we run into a Ferengi in Next Gen, they're part of the Ferengi military that, for some reason, is basically never remembered in Deep Space Nine. It never comes up. Because Damon is captain in Ferengi. Every single Ferengi you ran into is Damon something.
Yeah, we never see any Damons in Deep Space Nine, as far as I know.
Yeah,
but there is that Ferengi in the Captain's Holiday episode, and I think he's just like a criminal.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and in fact, isn't that Rom I believe that's the actor playing Rom.
Whoa, I have to go back and check that out.
I'm almost certain. So they're even picking the good actors who are playing Ferengi, because Armin Shimmerman was also a Ferengi on Next Gen, wasn't he?
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
I'm almost certain he was. I know Neelix was.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you think the Ferengi think? Sorry to get off topic here. What do you think the Ferengi think of Ferengi who go into the Ferengi military instead of going out to pursue profit?
Yeah, it's a weird thing, but you got to get your start somewhere, I figure. And I mean, Quark was a chef on I think it was a trading ship for a long time, and that's pretty close.
Yeah, that's true.
The Ferengi military, that has not been fleshed out very much.
Nah, not much at all. And even when they overthrew the Grand Nagus in Deep Space Nine, it was like the Finance Commission, because they put Brunt in charge. So it wasn't even like whatever military is the military on Ferenginar.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
You know what I just realized for the first time, though?
What?
Deep Space Nine has the Bajorans, who love the Prophets, and the Ferengi, who love profit. How have I never noticed that?
Anyway, Ensign Ro.
Ensign Ro.
I think I have to take Ro a little bit higher, because I definitely like Ro more than Tasha Yar.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Guinan?
No.
No what?
I don't like her more than Guinan.
Oh, so right between Guinan and Tasha Yar?
Yeah, that works for me.
Alright, so coming in at number 58. That's Ro Laren. Given name Laren.
Given her parents named her Laren.
Yeah, that's not as nice as Nerys.
Not nearly.
Yeah, I'm trying to imagine Odo. It's like, Laren.
Oh man. All right.
Not as good.
Yeah. Shall we take a break?
Prophets and profit, you son of a bitch.
We'll be right back.
And welcome back to the LAAG. We are here with your comic reviews for the week. And not too many this week, but there's definitely some standouts. First, let's start with the only thing that only I read, which was issue 7 of Weapon H by Greg Pak, Ariel Anindito on art. So we are getting the continuing story of the origin of Weapon H and his fight with Roxxon, and he's teaming up with Captain America in this issue, and that's the main thrust, is Weapon H and Captain America fighting monsters that are coming through a dimensional breach, while Weapon H has an interior monologue about how Captain America is the reason that he originally signed up for the military, and this guy's his hero, and he can't believe that he's now out there fighting with the Cap himself, and they're kicking monsters' butts.
This sounds fun.
It's a pretty fun comic. I consistently am surprised that I'm picking up every issue, but it's not the best thing Marvel's putting out, but it's a pretty good time. And it's a good, fun concept, Weapon H, it's Wolverine Hulk. I'm down. And then the ending has a kind of a nice twist in that Dario Agger, the head of Roxxon, has made sure that every single thing they're doing is completely legal. So there's nothing that Cap or Weapon H can really do about ending the current situation. So Cap asks Weapon H to accept Dario's offer of working for him so that he can have a man on the inside. And because it's Cap asking him to do it, Weapon H feels he has no choice but to say yes. And so that's where we're going from here. It's a good story, solid art, good action, and it's a solid read. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. Not amazing, but above average. Worth your time.
Yeah, I like the way Weapon H looks inside the comic a lot more than the way he looks on the cover. I do not like the way he looks on the cover very much.
Yeah, I think his design is pretty good, personally, but I do think the problem with the cover here is that they're showing his shoulder spikes as if they kind of break out and are these spiky things, whereas
that's gross.
Yeah, consistently in the book, Weapon H is depicted as sort of having these rivets. They're sort of they're attached to his body. They're not like spikes that are jutting out. And I know it's still functionally the same thing where it's supposed to be the adamantium coming off. But compared to that...
It looks a lot better inside the comic. He looks a lot better.
And it's hilarious the way they just totally skim over stuff. He has all that adamantium in his body, and yet somehow he can still turn into human form.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a problem.
So, semi-solid. If you're into if you think it's a cool concept, then it's worth buying. If you think Hulk Wolverine is stupid, it's not worth buying. Simple as that.
Does it ever feel to you when you're reading it they did Green Hulk. They did Red Hulk. Now they're giving us this weird Gray Hulk.
Well, they have done Gray Hulk.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's called Mr. Fix-It, and he is like a casino bouncer or something.
Great name.
Yeah. But, no, I totally think that what you're saying took place in some editor's room where they're like, all right, well, we've done Gray Hulk, but like if we do it this way.
Man, but that just makes me think, where the hell is Purple Hulk? Because Purple Hulk would be awesome.
Didn't some cartoon that was like a parody of the Avengers have a Purple Hulk?
Yeah, you're right.
Some Cartoon Network show.
Yeah, I think it might have been part of Dexter's Laboratory.
That's right, the superhero half.
Yeah, the superhero bit.
He was the Incredible Thud or something.
Yeah, something like that. Or Chunk.
Exactly. But maybe that's why they're hesitant.
Yeah, that's true, because that was not a great representation of the Hulk. All right, moving on. A new issue of Superman by Brian Michael Bendis and Reese.
Ivan Reese.
Ivan Reese.
Let me help you out with that one.
On art. Thank you.
Good art.
Yeah. And this is a continuation of the entire Earth has been put into the Phantom Zone, where Zod is, of course, Ark. And I felt like this was a pretty solid issue. You get like everybody freaking out on Earth about being in the Phantom Zone, of course.
And we do get an explanation of why we're in the Phantom Zone.
Do we? We got an explanation of that?
Yeah, Star
Labs messed up and got everybody into the Phantom Zone because they were playing around with stuff that they should have left alone.
Yep.
That's basically what this comic says about Star Labs when they pop in here and there, and Superman is not happy about that.
Yeah, he straight up yells at them.
Yes, he does. Meanwhile, Zod has... Zar, right. Zar, not Zod. Zod's a different dude.
Zod's a different dude.
But, Rogol Zar, who has been in the Phantom Zone for, I guess a couple of days now, notices that the Earth is there and meets up with this other dude from Krypton's past who's been locked in the Phantom Zone forever.
Jaxer. He was the villain in one of my favorite issues of the Grant Morrison Superman run when Krypto showed up and had also been locked in the Phantom Zone.
Okay.
The boy and his dog issue.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, I wondered if he was a reoccurring character because he seems pretty alright.
Yeah, I think he might even be like a Golden Age character that was repurposed recently. I wouldn't be surprised Grant Morrison's always doing that.
Okay, yeah. So in this issue, you get a little bit of Flash trying to help Superman. Batman is bent over a toilet, unfortunately, even though the rest of the humans don't seem to be vomiting. But it's explained that Batman is vomiting because of being in the Phantom Zone. So that's a little weird.
Yeah, I wonder if it was even like an art mistake and that they were supposed to be depicting the humans as also being nauseous.
Right, but they didn't put that in there.
And the idea that Batman doesn't have some sort of like anti-nausea injection he can give himself is like bonkers to me. Yeah, if you'll pardon my use of the term, it's batshit crazy.
Yeah, but I can tell you exactly why it's in there.
Yeah.
It's to take a little bit of a jab at Batman because this is a Superman comic.
I know. What is up with everybody taking jabs at Batman?
Oh, I know. I'm Batman.
Making fun of his voice in Justice League, and that last issue was like, oh, I have to pull over. My stomach is feeling bad.
Well, let's face it. Batman did get a little weird for a little bit.
The last 30 years?
Well, sure. He's always been weird, but the last, let's say, 5 years, there's been a whole lot of, I'm Batman. Why do you do this? Because I'm Batman.
That's true.
How did you do that? I'm Batman.
It's Christian Bale's fault.
Yeah, that is Christian Bale.
It's because I'm Batman.
Yeah, so now I think writers feel like they need to knock him down a peg.
Take the piss out of him.
Take the piss out of him.
I hate that.
And let's see, what else happened in this issue? Superman saved a bunch of people.
Martian Manhunter turns into a dragon to save a school bus. You got to give him credit.
Martian Manhunter turns into a dragon to save a school bus.
You got to give him credit for at least showing the heroes saving some people.
Oh yeah, no, it's good. The stuff the heroes are actually doing in this episode, even though it's like oh crap panic.
Yeah.
They're helping out. They're figuring out what's going on, and not a lot of wasted time in this issue. Not really any talking to civilians about random stuff, and I felt like that was nice.
Adam Strange kind of just making a joke about Earth not being there when he flies back. I don't know if that's appropriate. Would he really be just like, guys, it's not funny, I'm Adam Strange?
That's a little weird, but that's just a single page gag. There's a few gags.
So many gags for this deadly serious comic, and I know that. Like, compared, when we talk about Justice League and I complain about how it's taking everything so seriously, breakneck all the time, and it needs to be broken up, I'm not a fan of this kind of breaking it up.
It's a little jarring.
When you're trying to convince us that Rogol Zaar is so scary, and then just to be cutting away to these comedy takes. But I do appreciate, like, this scene is good, where Superman yells at the people looting and they just stop. I like that.
That's pretty good, and
but I also don't like that because they need Superman to tell them not to rob, but then they're all just gonna not rob. Like, they're all just doing it because they're afraid Superman's gonna get them now.
Well, when there's a mob, I think people just mob because of the inner animal.
So you feel like if you break the mob mentality,
and that's all Superman was doing.
That's true.
I'm fine with that.
All right. I remove my my gripe.
Yeah. So Rogol Zaar and
Zaar.
I keep doing that. Rogol Zaar and the other guy, Jaxer. They team up, and it seems like they're forming an army of Krypton's greatest villains.
It's a cool setup.
Which is a good setup. The Atom shows up.
That's
pretty cool.
Yeah. And the 2-page spread of all of the monsters and demons and the greatest villains of Krypton's history all bearing down on planet Earth. Like, that's suitably epic.
Yeah, and that is a good cliffhanger because, like, it's so many monsters packed into one 2-page spread, and it almost looks like it's like one being that's made out of many monsters.
Right.
And Rogol Zaar.
Got it. He got it.
is writing it down. Writing it down to Earth.
Yeah, that's like a disgusting, like, corpse dragon thing that's, like, covered in skulls as part of its body.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a Dark Souls enemy.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
All right.
That was Superman for the week, so we'll see, because that's a good cliffhanger. Hopefully it feels like it's coming to a head.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a 4-issue arc and we're gonna get the full thing, or if we're gonna stretch it out. It all depends on what they're writing for that trade. So, what would you rank Superman issue 3?
I would actually rank this one a 7.
7. All right, I have to give this one. I'll give it a 7 too, mostly because it looks so good. The art is fantastic.
It's really good art.
Ivan Reis is probably my favorite guy of the, like, DC house style, of all the guys who aren't really doing something that stretches out from, like, the main thing, who's kind of matching up with the general look of the whole line. Right. I think that when they're doing that, like, it used to be Jim Lee, and, like, Reis is, like, the next stage after that, and he's good. I like his stuff.
Well, all right.
All right, let's move on to issue 2 of the Fantastic Four by Dan Slott, drawn by Sarah Pichelli. Wow. I thought this was actually a really good issue of comics.
Yeah, that's how I'd say it. This is it's something else, It's something that's a little bit more.
I have to give Dan Slott credit. I haven't read something this fun or interesting from him in a while.
I know. Well, considering what he's doing with Venom, I mean, he's got some ideas.
Oh, Slott isn't doing anything with Venom. No, he was just that one Spider-Man crossover.
Oh, right, he was doing the Spider-Man.
With the stupid Peter Parker with the straight poop line.
Right. Yeah, I recognized his name when I was reading this. And I thought, wow, where do I know that? It must be the Venom.
No, it was Venom adjacent.
Yeah.
But so in this issue, we basically find out what the Fantastic Four have been doing, which shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody because this is exactly what they said they were going to go do at the end of Secret Wars when they left.
So that's what they're always doing, kind of, when they're not around.
Well, they're always exploring, but they've never been exploring a multiverse that has been created out of whole cloth by Franklin Richards.
Oh, that's
and
true.
That is what this issue is about. We catch up with them basically at the end of their long trek of Franklin imagining universes into existence, as we know he can do. Remember, Heroes Reborn.
Right.
And then the Molecule Man takes a slice of himself to anchor that new universe into existence, and they just go around exploring their new realities, and everything's happy, and Franklin and Valeria are actually teenagers now, which is pretty different. They've always been, I think the oldest we've ever seen them get is like 12 or 13, but they're definitely adolescent now. And they even have cool names now. Franklin's superhero codename appears to be Powerhouse, which I love.
Yeah.
As the most powerful mutant in existence. That's a dope name.
Oh, that's a really good name.
I can't remember what Valeria's name was. They do give it to her. It's like something smart sounding because she doesn't have any power. She's just smarter than Reed.
Right.
But, we see them creating the universes, and we get the introduction of the villain, and it's really cool because the villain turns out to be the Griever, whose purpose is to grieve for the end of all things when all realities are destroyed, and she obviously isn't real happy that all of reality was very close to being destroyed and is now being repopulated by a bunch of planets that have nothing to do with the New Order. And we see, like, ultra genocide in these pages because as the Fantastic Four are running away from the Griever, I shouldn't say the Fantastic Four, I should say the Richards family.
Yes.
They are just leaving the shattered universes in their wake, and we do not know how many universes are destroyed and how many survive before they decide to make a stand on the planet with the Indian-looking dude that Valeria was into.
Yeah, well, they've supposedly been doing this for a long time now, and just in the span of this issue, we see like 3 or 4 new realities that they go to. So for them to be running and running and running, that's a whole lot of realities getting destroyed right behind them.
And we know things are serious because Molecule Man got warped in this issue.
Warped?
That's when you kill a powerful, or you defeat a powerful character to show how badass your villain is. You grab the most powerful guy on the other team and you show how much more powerful you are.
Is that term common coin?
I'm almost certain
Awesome.
that it's on what's the TV Tropes or whatever that site is. I'm almost certain that it's either Worf or there's like a term that has Worf in it. That is the term for when, the new villain shows up and takes down whoever is quote unquote the strongest person right away. Just to get it out there real quick, like this person is badass.
Oh man, I like that so much.
And so the last thing that happens is that Reed tells the Griever, like, you may be able to kill us, but would you be able to kill the whole Fantastic Four? And the Griever's like, yeah, just rock guy and fire guy, like, whatever. Like, go ahead and call whoever you want. And then Reed calls every single person who's ever been a member of the Fantastic Four to assist them for a fantastic final page.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And so we're looking forward to the next issue, I gotta say.
Yeah, definitely.
That should be a good fight, man. And things are moving quickly. We're getting into the action. The Fantastic Four are back.
Yeah, really.
It's good stuff, man. So, Fantastic Four, issue 2. I would give this comic an 8.
I'd give it an 8 as well.
Excellent. We're in agreement.
Yes.
All right.
Moving on.
Go for it.
We have Hawkman, issue 4. So, that's by...
Where's that credits page? It's Robert Venditti. And Brian Hitch. I didn't see it, I just know.
Okay. Yeah, that's weird. I'm looking through it and I don't see that credits page.
If they're at the beginning, a lot of times they're on the last page.
Robert Venditti and Brian Hitch.
Looks good, reads good.
Looks good, reads good. In this issue, following last issue, where Hawkman warped back in time to one of his former lives.
Right, this time one of his versions that only existed on Thanagar, one of the actual Thanagarian Hawkmans.
Right.
Hawkmen,
because they're like a police force of Thanagar.
Right, and his wings don't collapse, so he's jelly.
This is true. And the Thanagarian Hawkman, who goes after our Hawkman in this episode, seems to think that our Hawkman is who is it? Some villain from his past.
Yeah, so
like somebody who killed like his wife or something.
I'm going to say that's pronounced Bythe.
Right, Bythe. Some dude named Bythe.
A shapeshifter, apparently.
Yeah, so they're fighting through most of this issue with Hawkman insisting over and over that he is not the Spike guy.
Like, I know who this is. I'm not him. Calm down.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is pretty entertaining.
It's a good fight through a cool futuristic cityscape.
Yeah.
Well, a chase more than a fight, I guess.
It is more of a chase, but they're swinging at each other. Hawkman's throwing his mace, and now because he has Thor powers to call it back to him, he's having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, why didn't he always have that?
Why didn't he always have that? It's definitely a good idea. I mean, it gives him some range.
Yeah, exactly.
So the battle with this other guy,
Qatar.
Yes.
Our Hawkman is Carter Hall, and that Hawkman is Qatar Hall.
Right, Carter Hall. I like that name.
Yeah.
That is a good name. Hawkman has a good name. And he finally is able to convince Qatar that he's from the future, and they're like linked because of the whole reincarnation thing.
Right.
And Carter Hall, he's able to get another clue. Yeah, or did he already have this clue?
No, he gets it because it turns out that Qatar hid whatever this thing was on the end of the finger of the statue that they happened to be standing on, which was the one thing in this issue that I was like, really?
Right.
It's right there. Like, you happen to land right on the thing that is the exact thing that you just explained to him that you're looking for. It's like 10 feet away from you.
I know. But we're getting into a whole fate thing.
Which this is clearly a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But I totally thought that it was going to be like exactly where the dude was pointing, but like far off in the distance. Right. Not right on his fingertip. Right. That, I laughed out loud.
Yeah, that was good. It was efficient. It got us right back to where we needed to be for the next issue.
Right, which was he jumps back into present time. Good for him. And now he has this disc thing, which is like it's the next puzzle.
Yes.
And I think that then at the end of the issue, he transports one more time.
One more time. But now he's somewhere real weird. He's somewhere in the subatomic world because he runs into the microverse.
Right, because he runs into the Atom. Atom shows up again.
Not to be confused with the Marvel-related microverse. I guess DC has a microverse? I don't know. I've never read any Atom comics, but yeah, microverse, I've always thought it was like a Marvel and the Micronauts thing even before it was Marvel. So, yeah, I know what's that.
So, yeah, this was an issue. It was pretty solid. It was mostly a chase and a talk.
Yeah.
And then a couple more warps for Hawkman. So I'd give it a 7.
I agree with a 7. Still solid, but nothing groundbreaking in this one. We're just continuing to move the pieces.
Exactly my thoughts.
Likely the next issue will have whatever the culmination of the first arc is. This obviously isn't a 4-issue trade.
Right.
All right. So last for the week is going to be the 3rd issue of Venom, First Host by Mike Costa and Mark Bagley. Once again, this comic continues to go in directions that I do not expect it to go.
Right.
So many switcheroos with whether the Kree guy is the guy we're supposed to like, or the Skrull lady is the person we're supposed to like, if we're not supposed to like either of them.
And then constant misdirects with the covers.
Constant misdirects with the cover. The cover always is, going somewhere completely different, so we don't know what's going to happen. And art is solid. It's Bagley doing Bagley.
Yeah.
And the big thing of this issue, besides learning how the Kree guy is so able to control the symbiote, he's basically been bred and altered in order to be the ultimate symbiote host, where he could actually overpower the symbiote. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. It definitely raises his scary level.
The twist, did you realize that it was the baby talking to Eddie and it wasn't Eddie having an interior monologue before they actually revealed it?
No.
Yeah, that was such a great twist to have the narration boxes and us just assuming that it's Eddie talking, even though when you go back, it's the crooked lettering, that's normally the way a symbiote talks, and it's talking in sort of a really basic way that like Eddie normally wouldn't be thinking.
But it talks about being alone in there.
Right. So we're automatically assuming, it's one thing, and no, it's this other symbiote. And
the baby's been talking to him.
The baby's been talking to him, and the baby merges with Eddie, and they went weird with this symbiote design, man.
I am not upset with that, because if you're gonna take it in a weird direction, you might as well go to these lengths.
Absolutely. It's clearly a symbiote, but it shares so few traits with what we've seen. I mean, it has tendriliness. It has sort of a carnagey color on color thing happening with the tendrils, although they've reversed it.
4 eyes?
4 eyes, no mouth.
No mouth. Well, it opens its mouth later in the issue, and its mouth is crazy.
Yeah, because he has like the line of skin coming down over the tooth like Jonah Hex.
Yes, he does.
In fact, the second pair of eyes appears to turn into the mouth.
Oh my god, I didn't even realize he didn't have the second pair of eyes.
So that's a real weird design if the mouth is sometimes eyes and vice versa.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And this symbiote has a different power set than other symbiotes we've had. He has some sort of weird pheromone control power set.
Right, he can be extra convincing if he wants to. He can probably let out some fear gas if he wants to.
So I'm extremely curious to see where things go after this, and I really am curious to see where this symbiote is going to end up. Because obviously Eddie's not keeping the symbiote, he's Venom. So.
He's Venom, I know.
But now I don't feel like I want the Kree guy to get this symbiote. That dude's a dick.
That dude, yeah, you can't have it. I mean, at first it seemed like it would be cool, because then you have your, like, space hero symbiote. But if he's just, like, an asshole who all he wants is vengeance.
And genocide. He wants to kill all the Skrulls.
Yeah, not cool. He can't have it.
Yeah, so, this series will be over next week. So we'll definitely be there by then. And good stuff. I really enjoyed this issue, and this miniseries continues to be. I think I might actually like this miniseries more than any of the previous Costa Bagley Venom issues that we read previously.
Yeah, well, it just keeps going in directions that you don't see coming. It's fun to read.
It's great how this series is going like hard Marvel cosmic sci-fi, and then the main Venom series is going hard Marvel like cosmic horror. Like very cosmic, like really leaning into the alien origins thing.
Well, maybe they know what we want is some crazy sci-fi.
So I'd give issue 3 of Venom First Host a 9. No, that's too high. It's an 8.5. It's a very good comic. It would be an 8 but I'm a huge Venom fan, making it an 8.5.
You know, that's fine. 8.5. We give it an 8.5.
That's right. That's what we want out of comics, man.
Yeah.
That's what we want out of comics.
Yeah, it's very cool. I'm very happy with the resurgence of Venom.
I was thinking today, actually, about how interesting it is that I feel like with the Venom movie coming out in a couple of weeks, this is going to be the first time that one of these major Marvel-related movies has come out where they have like a really solid new thing with that character that's actually that character, not like an alternate version or something. That character's dead right now in the comics or something. You could take the new Venom collection, you could hand it to a person who just saw the movie and said, this is Venom comics right now. Maybe not as much with First Host or the Bagley stuff, but the main series, the one with the evil Null and all that stuff.
Grendel.
Yeah, and the symbiote Grendel. Like, you could hand that to somebody who's never read a Venom comic before.
Oh, yeah, well, that's just engrossing.
Yeah. So, good stuff. Good on them for actually having some solid stuff to sell. It's good for the retailers when these movies come out if they can easily put something in somebody's hand.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, well, I guess that does it for this week.
Well, that's the LAAG cast.
All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we will hopefully see you next week.